Hello and welcome to That's Real Talk. Wow! Happy New Year 2020, ringing it in with all the bells and whistles to celebrate, out with the old and in with the new. So, who would ever imagine by March of 2020 there would be a global pandemic identified as COVID-19, a rapid spreading virus which caused countries and states to issue a mandatory stay-at-home order.
2020 started as a world moving, going, doing, working, eating, sleeping, playing, preparing for proms, graduations, weddings, vacations, and a summer of new events. Suddenly, it was all stopped by COVID-19. Sounds like some undercover operation, doesn't it? However, it has become a universal viral pandemic.
Schools, businesses, daycares, playgrounds, parks, restaurants, and churches closed their doors. People were quickly caught in a tailspin of do's and don'ts and encouraged to wear a mask when going out. Then were told it would be vitally important to get enough food to last for approximately 2 weeks. You know, it does not stop there. COVID-19, or coronavirus, would claim the lives of so many people, those we knew personally and those we did not know. But as a people, we grew stronger and more reliant on each other for encouragement and support as we navigated through such a dark period.
Feeling low, and there's no one around.
All proceeds are going to be donated to healthcare workers on the front lines and charities focusing on nonprofit foundations for healthcare workers.
Now, to compound this mysterious viral giant, many African American males and females were caught in a floodgate of innocent lives being lost at the hands of law enforcement as well as self-proclaimed vigilantes. We then witnessed a plethora of protests, marches, riots, and demands for answers from our state representatives to stop the senseless murders and killings of African American people. We'll be back in a moment. Holland, can you give me some insight into what you were thinking when you saw that video?
Yes, when I first saw the video, I was disturbed, and the first thing I could think was, is this necessary? He's handcuffed, he's on the ground, he's powerless. There was no need for the cops need to be in his neck.
Yes, absolutely. So Eden, were you able to look at that video in its entirety?
No, I was not able to look at the full video. It was too disturbing for me to watch.
So you had to actually go back to get some insight to that regard?
Yes.
Things happened so rapidly, and the next thing you know, there was a ton of protests and riots and marches. How did you come about that? What gave you the inspiration to want to go to the march? Holland?
Well, basically, in past years when there's a protest, I've never been able to attend, and I always felt bad for not being able to go. So this time I decided, it's time for me to go out and show my support from my own community and for the victims of police brutality and mass incarceration and everything. So.
Okay. All right. How about you, Eden?
I was basically tired of all the hashtags about different people that are affected and victims of police brutality. And I just decided that I need to step out there and try to do my part in making a change in this country.
But the cops were basically telling us, you have between this time and this time to protest. It's now time for you to leave. And I was able to talk to some of the police officers, and I asked them, who says we can't stay here? It's a public park. People were sitting down having picnics and chilling, and us standing here, protesting is not harming anybody. But they started, lining up and like forcing us back towards the parking lot. And it was just like, it angered me even more to see that, the African-American cops weren't even like, they didn't seem like they had any remorse. They didn't seem like they cared. It seemed like, it kind of gave them a thrill and a power trip. And it was just like, it's crazy how like brainwashed it seemed like they were for them to be able to like continue and get a thrill out of it.
I've lived here my entire life and I've never seen anything even close to this ever organized in this community.
That is, why do you think that in such a time like this, that when we talk about Black Lives Matter and somebody says, well, all lives matter, why is there such a negative connotation with that? Why do you think that is? I mean, we all know life matters, but why do you think it's so negative when somebody says all lives matter after somebody's talking about Black Lives Matter?
I feel like a portion of that a portion of that really has to do with regionally where you are. And I mean that in the sense like, for example, I'm from Ohio, right? Mm-hmm. From Toronto, Pastor, right? And places like that where it's not Atlanta, right? Where we can look around and in traffic, we see, oh, it's Black lives everywhere, right?
Right.
There's no doubt to us that Black lives matters. But when you're in a population, when you're in a geographic setting where you may not come across a Black life, but the Black lives that you see are in cinema, on the news, either being arrested or, local crime and or just rappers, actors or whatever. So you have a very skewed perspective of what a Black person's life is. And so it probably looks like both ends of the spectrum. You've got, your Denzel Washingtons, Martin Luther Kings, and then you got, everybody who they show getting arrested on the other end. So there's no real space in between for people to say Black Lives Matters. It's like, well, no, you're either here or here because that's how we see it. Mm-hmm. And so for people who are probably spewing this all lives matters, it's kind of like, well, maybe I don't see why your life is at the forefront of my life now. So why would I say your life matters when you haven't addressed the fact that my life matters as, a white man or an Asian woman, whoever it might be, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of reprioritizing. For us, it's about, just getting attention to the fact that not only are we here, but we're productive members of society. We're fathers, we're loving brothers, we're presidents, right? We're all of that. But to everybody else, it's almost like trumping their trumping their existence. And potentially just saying that, hey, now these Black lives matter more than yours. And so just imagine that if you never come across a Black person, what does that mean?
Gotcha. I gotcha. Anyone else have to chime in on that?
Yeah, I'm gonna chime in and kind of feed off where Aaron was speaking of, based on different regions. When we speak of as far as all lives matters. Back in the days when the LGBTQ community, were protesting back in the days for equal and fair rights for the gay community, lesbian, the only thing they wanted in the end were equal rights, whether it be on a job, whether it be, of course, walking in restaurants. But the major difference between their lives and when they were protesting, which actually went all the way to the Supreme Court. And once it reached the Supreme Court and they were able to get equal rights for, whether it be, again, in jobs or whatnot, you haven't heard any more protests or whatever. but they were preaching the same, looking for the same, rights that we're looking for, which is just to be treated equally, not
Right.
based on our color, not based on what we believe in or whatnot. And back then, the same thing would apply back then, as far as all lives matter. The difference right now is just that Black males we're being shot at, or we're being shot or 21 times more likely to get shot versus whether it be white, gay, or whatever. So that's the main reason why we're focused on saying that Black lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. But right now, we're fearful of we can't even walk outside of our house.
With so much deep divide among our nation, we experienced one of the most unforgettable presidential elections that will truly be a history maker.
Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. Let's keep showing them who we are.
We made history together 4 years ago, and tomorrow we're going to make history once again.
220,000 Americans dead. If you hear nothing else I say tonight, hear this. Anyone who's responsible for not taking control, in fact, not saying I take no responsibility initially, anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
Is that a guarantee?
No, it's not a guarantee, but it will be by the end of the year. But I think it has a good chance. There are two companies, I think, within a matter of weeks, and it will be distributed very quickly. And we will make America great again.
So, Congressman John Lewis, before his passing, wrote, "Democracy is not a state, it is an act." And what he meant was that America's democracy is not guaranteed. It is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation.
As we shift to new leadership in hopes of bringing the United States back to some sense of normality, we have a current president that will not acknowledge defeat, but relentlessly continues to incite division among political parties and fight aimlessly for his presidential seat, thus removed. We'll be back in a moment. Now here we are about to embark upon another new year, 2021, and the coronavirus is progressively increasing in numbers and has developed a mutation that seems to be rapidly spreading. However, a vaccine has been developed in a 10-month time span, which in time may prove to be the breakthrough needed to stop this monster in its tracks. However, many do not feel comfortable taking the vaccine, while others have already received a first injection of hope. So as we move to the eve of another new year, let us continue to keep our distance, wash our hands, and mask up. Because if we believe, trust, and pray, God will deliver and we will make it through. Now that's real talk. So long, everyone.